Hey guys, last day of the season coming up. Are you excited? So, we're going to go over some strategies for the last day of the season. So, a lot of things change on the last day. For example, the most important change is your most valuable resource, troops, become worthless at the end of the season. And so, the closer you get towards the end of the season, the less your troops are worth. And the more gold is worth. So the reason is obviously you can't take it with you. The troops are means to an end. The troops give you kingdom power, but at the end of the season, the kingdom power is set and your troops are not usable anymore. Whereas gold is more and more useful because if you save as much gold as possible to upgrade your cities in the last hour before the season ends, it gives you a big advantage. Why is that? Well, because low kingdom power gives you more targets to attack. So if you, let's say you go into the last day of the season with lower than usual kingdom power, now you'll be able to attack players that are lower that you normally wouldn't be able to attack. So what you can do is you can accumulate a lot of cities, and then with an hour left, you can boost all these cities and nobody will have enough time to snatch them from you. So you could increase your power by 50% or even double if you have enough gold and small cities. So personally, I have 50G gold. It's pretty good for my position. I mean, it's up in the air whether it's enough to make legendary or not, because I've been fighting a lot of tough players. But right now, you want to look at your position in terms of how many troops you have, and what your goal is, whether it's to make legendary or diamond, and then you can decide whether to go kind of all in, taking big cities, or if you don't have enough troops, you can go for small cities. Anybody can do that. So let's say you just got walled a couple times, trying to take big cities, and you're going for legendary. You're in 30th place. Now you only have 5G troops. Well, you can go for all small cities. You can even break up the 5G into groups and fight weaker players and go for small cities, and that's kind of gives you an outside chance. It's not the best way to go. Ideally, you want enough troops. You want to have over 20 billion troops at this point of the game, in which case you can go for both big cities and small cities. That's what all the top 5 players are doing right now. They're just going for everything. So if you have for most of us with 10 billion or less, you've got to decide. So you've got to decide either to go all in with one location, probably at one target at a time, or if you go for small cities, you can go for multiple targets at a time. You can spread them throughout the map and look for someone who's asleep. If you catch 1 or 2 players that's around your kingdom power that's asleep, or on the last day they have to go to work, that's a big boon. I mean, you could make legendary on that alone. There's one season where I caught a guy asleep, and I took him from, I think, 5th place all the way down to where I couldn't attack him anymore. I just kept attacking him constantly for like 8 hours straight, and I ended up in like 5th place that season, and he ended up like 100th place. Like I think he logged on towards the end, and he just kind of gave up because I saw him move some troops like part of the way through, but he lost so many cities, it was so demoralizing that he didn't try, and he ended up basically in Diamond League. So if you've messed up until this point, and you're not achieving your goals this season, perhaps your goal is to make legendary, and now you're in 150th place. Well, you're gonna coast into Diamond League, but you may not spend a lot of time on the last day of the season if you have no chance at legendary, or if your position is secure. But the other thing about the last day of the season is new season is coming up. So in a day and a half, we're going to have a new season. Now, the most important thing about the new season these days is your starting location. So it used to be that I would start as soon as possible, because that would put me next to the top players who also start as soon as possible generally, and fighting the top players would allow me to level faster. It would give me good opponents nearby to fight. Well, now the game has changed because it's not about level anymore. So fighting top opponents won't get you very far because you don't gain enough troops from the levels anymore. They've halved the number of troops you get per level, and also you don't get as much experience anymore. If you're in Legendary League, for example, you only get a quarter of the experience, and Diamond gets half the experience multiplied by the other experience qualifier, which is the kingdom power. So now what you want to do is you want to start a little bit later, and that way maybe you're in a isolated location. You could take the entire continent without much of a fight, and you can hold on to it easily. So now defense is the key. Basically, once you get your kingdom power high enough, you can go into full recruiter and you can generate a lot of troops. Now, if you're surrounded by tough players, it's tough to do because they're constantly attacking you. You don't want to be attacked while you're in recruiter. You can defend with troops, but you can't defend everything. If you're being attacked by multiple people at once, you can't defend everywhere. You won't have enough troops to do it. So you'll be spread too thin. So right now, I think it's best for all but the top players to start later. Now, obviously, if everybody does that, then it's no longer an advantage because some of the top players will be starting later also. But I think that the top players with the best items, they're not scared of anyone. They'll just start right away and get that small advantage of being able to play for an extra few hours or half a day or one day or whatever. Some people wait several days to start over. Now, this equivalent of that is you could start early and just gamble on getting a good location, and if you don't get a great location, you can use a fresh start. That's the only time, I've never used a fresh start, but that's the only time I would consider using a fresh start is right on the first day or maybe the second day. Or if you make some big mistakes later in the season, maybe you need to fresh start. But generally, it's not recommended now because high kingdom power is a big advantage. So when you fresh start, you're starting again from zero, and even though you can level by having a lot of good targets to attack, you're losing out on all that troop generation from high kingdom power. So that's it for this video. So make sure you subscribe and like my videos if you want to see more. I'm going to have more Million Lords videos on the way.